What a great day. I came to USC more than 30 years ago, and as a computer science faculty member, I worked with fantastic USC graduate students. So I know exactly what you've achieved here, and congratulations to everyone. When I first came to USC, I was lucky enough to get involved in research on machine translation software that we hoped would one day translate between Chinese, English, and Spanish, and so on. At that time, it was considered a pretty impossible problem, but we were among the first to apply machine learning tools very early on, and we could envision that as the web grew and more data became available, our technology would keep getting better. And now we can read documents in other languages, I can communicate freely when traveling, and I recently even worked at a Chinese company where English was rarely spoken. So one thing I want to say is I'm really happy that our kind of technology can enhance international cooperation. And we got to keep that international cooperation going. You know, great leaps are usually made by individuals and companies, but when the mentality becomes, hey, we've got this, we're ahead, we don't need to pay attention to what others are doing, that's exactly when things start to slip. So please keep an eye out for exciting things that are happening, no matter where they're happening. Anyway, today is taking me back to when I was your age, and what pieces of advice would I give myself? So I'm going to give you two. One is that you're going to make mistakes, and it's fine. So here's a mistake I made when I was your age. I was attending my first conference on artificial intelligence. I didn't know much about it, but I was excited about it because probably I'd read a lot of science fiction. Anyway, during the conference, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, somehow arranged a lunch with a famous AI professor. It was at the Del Taco, just like the one across the street. And as the AI professor was describing her work and her ideas, I was just eating my burrito, trying to follow what she was saying, understand what the heck she was talking about. And you know how a burrito is wrapped in very thin paper? Well, at some point I realized that I was eating the burrito, but I was also eating the paper. I was so nervous, and that's not the worst part. I was so nervous that I thought if I removed the rest of the paper, I'd just draw attention to the fact, and she would notice that I'd already eaten a bunch of paper. So I decided to play it cool, just keep going, eat the burrito, and all the rest of the paper wrapping. So in retrospect, probably shouldn't have done that. It was a mistake. Anyway, you too will make a lot of ridiculous mistakes, and let me tell you, it's no problem. Okay, I can see some of you are writing this down. Don't eat the paper around the burrito. So I'm going to also give you a second piece of advice, which is try to do personal projects outside of work and school. So a personal project is something that comes out of your own natural interests based on your own unique background, maybe based on an odd skill that you have or an odd skill you'd like to develop. A couple of examples. So ever since I was a kid, I wanted to build a robot President Abraham Lincoln that could play chess with me. So I don't know why. And recently I started asking myself, why don't we have these kinds of robots around? What's so hard about building a robot? So the best way to answer that kind of question is just to do a personal project, build a robot Lincoln, which wasn't easy in my case because I don't have any background in that. But I did it, and now every morning I make an espresso for myself and try to beat this guy in chess. And now I understand better what makes it hard to just grip an object and move it from one place to another. Another example, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to build a translating photocopier. You put down a page in Russian and you push a button that says, I want 10 copies in English. And I was terrible at hardware during graduate school, but since this was my own personal project, I just really went at it. And in that case, when our research funders noticed how excited I was about this crazy translating photocopier, they actually threw a little bit of money our way. And final example, I decided to study Japanese when I was in my early 20s. No particular reason, just interested in the culture, and at that time, the US and Japan were on the brink of a major trade war. So the US was dead set on keeping Hondas and Toyotas out of the country. Anyway, studying Japanese was just a personal project without a particular purpose. And I just thought if I knew it, maybe some opportunity would come along, and without going into any details, it did. And these days I have a lot of personal projects, particularly in art and in pure mathematics, which itself is really an art. So my point is there's a lot that makes you, you, and try not to let that get swallowed up in the process of making a living. And if someone comes around and asks you, why are you doing that project, then you're probably on the right track. Okay, well, like I said, it's a great day, so congratulations to you and your families, and also especially to USC for doing such a great job. So thank you, and fight on.